up guys, this is Frozen 2 Fan 2004 here, and welcome to the second part of my Thor reviews leading up to Thor Love and Thunder. This time, the movie I'm reviewing is Thor: The Dark World. Came out in 2013 and tells the story of Jane Foster, who has been cursed, and Thor must fight the Dark Elves lead by Malekith, who cursed her. Thor: The Dark World is known to be the worst MCU film, and for good reason. I actually enjoyed this film when it came out, but as a critic I realized this movie is terrible. However, I never said this was the worst MCU film. It was Iron Man 2 on one hand, and then right now my least favorite MCU film is Captain Marvel. I always thought Thor: The Dark World deserved the hate it gets, but when I rewatched this movie, I gotta be honest, I think it got worse. Thor: The Dark World is a disaster. It's so close to being irredeemable, completely and utterly forgettable with a pointless plot, and honestly this movie doesn't even feel important to the MCU. This is the kind of plot that you'd find in a subplot of a random TV episode. They completely waste Lady Sif, who was the best character in the first film, and Frigga's death was just stupid. In fact, there's too much stupid decisions in the film, like how Loki betrays Thor during the Dark Elves battle, but turns out he's only doing it to get the Dark Elves' attention. That makes no sense at all. I'll give it that Darcy isn't as annoying as everyone says she is, but still a terrible character. Jane is just as bad as she was in the first film, but the worst character of the film has to be the villain, Malekith. He is hands down the worst MCU villain ever. His plan is so illogical, and so is his motivation as well. He's just another villain who's a bad guy just for the sake of being a bad guy. You know that's when villains go wrong, and don't get me started on his CGI. Also, whose idea was it to include Eric Selvig running around London naked? That's probably the worst MCU scene alongside Goose scratching Nick Fury's eye in Captain Marvel. But are there any redeeming qualities to the film? Actually yes, there are. Chris, Tom, and Anthony do give a good performance, as well as the actress that played Frigga. The action scenes are pretty solid. There wasn't really a bad action scene, though they just didn't blow me away in comparison to most of the epic MCU action scenes. I like that there's more time spent on Asgard, and I do like seeing Jane on Asgard, so I will admit that Jane was slightly handled better in this than she was in the first Thor. The production design was pretty good, and I will say Frigga's funeral scene looked beautiful. Not as good as Padme's funeral in Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, but that Frigga's funeral was the best scene in the film. Overall, Thor: The Dark World is my second worst MCU movie ever, behind Captain Marvel. This is the most disappointing movie of 2013 as well. It had so much potential because that trailer was epic and my favorite Thor trailer ever. Every time I watch the trailer, it makes me even more upset about this film. But to be fair, this is actually better than that What If episode where Thor was an only child. That is hands down the worst What If episode ever, and the worst thing to happen to Thor. But Thor: The Dark World is still a cinematic disaster. On a scale of 1 to 10, Thor: The Dark World gets a 3 out of 10. So that's it for my rant on this abomination. What is your opinion on this movie? Comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for my review on Thor Ragnarok. Bye guys.